I like you people. All right, final session. How to stay married and not kill your spouse. All right, we're going to take a look at what it takes to do that. But before we do, I want to take you to heaven and put you on a committee. And we're going to go back 4,000 years in time to the time of King David. Now, King David had 5 wives. Why any man would do that to himself is beyond understanding. But he had 5 of them. And now we need to decide on our committee which one of these women is going to be the mother of the next king of Israel. He's going to be King Solomon, the wisest man that ever lived. This was during this was during Israel's golden age. It was the best time Israel ever had it. It was glorious. You talk about a run on the stock market. I mean, prosperity, no wars. It was fantastic because this king was so incredible. Who is going to be the mama of this king and then become the great-great-great-grandmother of the Lord Jesus Christ himself? Kind of an important decision, right? Now, ladies, you would think wife number 1, right? She should have dibs. She was there first. But we know it wasn't her because David got mad at her and quit having sex with her, which is easy to do if you have 4 more in the wings. And you probably want to discount wife number 5. You remember her, Bathsheba? The only reason she's there is because of lust, lying, adultery, and murder. King David saw her taking a bath. See, that's what lust will do to you. Saw her taking a bath, seduced her, had sex with her, got her pregnant, and then murdered her husband to hide the whole thing and married her. There's nothing holy about this. There's nothing right about this. God never intended for that woman to be in the house. All right, so how would you decide? You think about that, and we'll come back to that. Okay, how to stay married and not kill anybody. Step number 1, you've got to avoid bitterness and resentment. Now, bitterness and resentment can build when one person feels they are unfairly bearing the burden of the relationship. When the weight of the relationship falls more on their shoulder than the other one's shoulder, then they will start to feel very bitter and resentful towards their spouse. Now, how men and women keep score is very different from each other to determine who's carrying the most amount of weight. Now, what I'm about to share with you, people ask me a lot, where did you learn all this stuff? What are your different influences? And, 32 years of marriage, that's one influence. But a lot of different people and listening to stuff, and I hear ideas, and I take them and change them and stuff. This particular, one of the guys that had probably a huge impact in my life about relationships was John Gray, and I think the guy's absolutely brilliant. I'm a lot funnier than he is, but he's brilliant, all right? And this section is Gray to the T, okay? I just admit it right up front. But the reason I share this because his insights on how men and women keep score is absolutely brilliant. It truly is. You see, men, when it comes to us keeping score, we're quick to give ourselves huge bonus points for everything we do. We crawl out of bed when we'd rather stay in, and just for that, we give ourselves 500 points. And then we go to work, and we put up with all the stuff at work, and we earn the paycheck, and we give ourselves, 2,000 points for that. And we come home without chasing other women, and we give ourselves huge points for that, So we walk in the door, it's like 4,500, And that's why a lot of men have no problem sitting on the couch and now contributing nothing. Because in his mind, he's way up in points for the day, and now he's giving you a chance to catch up. Now, I didn't say it was right. Don't get mad at me. I'm just saying this is the way his brain ticks. And a lot of guys will actually start feeling very bitter towards their wives if they feel their wives are trying to make them do stuff. Because in his male psyche, he's way up in points for the day. He shouldn't have to do anything else. Now, the problem here is that women keep score a little differently. Let me show you how a woman would score the same man's day. He gets out of bed when he'd rather stay in, and for that, she loves and appreciates him and gives him, ding, 1 point. And then he goes to work, and he earns a big paycheck and does all this stuff, and she goes, I love that, and she goes, ding, 1 point. And then he comes home without chasing other women, and comes home, and she's so glad to see him, ding, 1 point. So you walk in, you got 3. Well, she also got up. She also went to work. She also cleaned the toilet. She also took the kids to piano lessons. She also had it in. It's 13 to 3. And you don't want to do anything? And now she starts screaming at her husband, which in a way is a good thing because it's the silent ones who really do kill people. If it gets quiet around your house, I'd get nervous if I were you. So she starts getting very, very angry. Now, when guys first hear about this, they get very discouraged. They go, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that no matter what I do, I get one lousy stinking point? Well, the answer is yes. But the good news is you can make this work for you. Because what men fail to realize is that women respond to virtually any simple act of kindness and reward it the same way as they would a big act of kindness. Right? Now, guys don't understand this. They think it's got to be big. It's got to be special. Girls, you have to understand the reason why we don't do a lot of small things around the house is because to a man, it doesn't mean anything. It's not that we hate you. We just couldn't possibly care less. It means nothing, and because it means nothing to us, we think it should mean nothing to you. But guys, you can't make that mistake. She scores very differently from you. Simple acts of kindness. It's those simple, like I told you last night, it's those simple acts of kindness that got her to fall in love with you in the first place. It's relatively easy to get a woman to fall in love with you if she'll pay attention to you in the first place. That's the hard part. You cross that hurdle, you got it made. As long as you pay attention. Simple acts of kindness. You do that, you can keep a woman crazy in love with you for your entire life. Simple acts of kindness. Every time you do a simple act of kindness. Ding, ding, ding. But guys, we don't think that way. If it's got to be big, it's got to be important. That's why a lot of guys, they'll only go all out for their wives, about 4 times a year. Birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas, and the obligatory Valentine's Day. And we think we'll do something real special and real fancy, and we think, well, that'll hold her. But that doesn't hold her. To her, you've done 4 things all year, you bum. Now, guys, again, they get discouraged. Oh, for crying out. You mean, I can't believe. But listen, you can make this work for you. This is great. I'm about to show you how you can succeed with a woman while doing virtually nothing. All right? I thought I'd get an applause out of that, but I don't know. I don't like the sound of this. Now, here's an example. You get up in the morning, your wife's brushing her teeth, you're standing next to the bed. Make the bed. It takes 120 seconds of your life. It's nothing. She'll walk into the room and go, you made the bed. Ding! You know that monument that you're building in the middle of your bedroom of old underwear? Pick it up. Throw it in the hamper. She'll walk in. He picked up his underwear. Ding! When you're done eating dinner, instead of just slugging off in front of the TV like Jabba the Hutt, clear off the table. It's 60, 90 seconds of your life. It's nothing. She'll go, he cleared off the table. Ding! And now you're scoring. Ding. But see, guys don't get that. Gray uses this great analogy. He says, if you bring a woman a rose, she'll go, ding! And then men, we think, wait a minute. 1 rose, 1 point? A dozen roses, 12 points. So we run out and we spend, $80, $90 for a dozen long stem roses, and we bring them to her, and she goes, thank you! Ding! In fact, by the raising of your hand, how many women would say, I would rather receive a single rose 12 different times than a dozen roses once? Let me see your hand. See, now a guy looks at that and goes, that's so inefficient. You want to make out like a bandit on this deal? Plan something special for your wife, like taking her out to dinner next Friday night. Nice restaurant. Go ahead and get a babysitter in advance. Get everything all set. But then tell her what you've done. A lot of guys, they'll think, oh, I'll surprise her. No, you amateur. Surprise her. Never try to surprise a woman. So what you do is you tell her in advance. The minute you tell her, honey, guess what? Next Friday night, we're going to such. I got some nice reservations. I already got a babysitter. We're going to have a great time. The minute you tell her what you're going to do, ding! You just got a point and you haven't done it yet. All right? Then, because she's a woman, she's going to tell all the other women in her life about what you've planned. And every time she shares with another girl, you know what Bob's got planned? He's going next Friday night, he's got reservations at such and such, and he's already got a babysitter. It's so exciting. Every time she shares that story, ding! You get another point. And now you are literally doing nothing. And the beauty of that system is every time you're earning a point, the husband of the other wife, that poor slob, is losing one. So it's kind of like a double coupon thing going for you. You really want to make out like a bandit? Engage your wife in meaningful conversation. Now, to a lot of women, meaningful conversation means she talks, you shut up and listen. But you can't just drift off into your nothing box. You have to let her know that you're hearing her. Every time you acknowledge that you've heard her, ding! So she'll go, la, 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 la. You go, you don't say. Ding! La, 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 loop-de-doop-de-loop-de-doo. You mean loop-de-doo? Ding! La, 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 la. Really well. How did that make you feel? And you're doing nothing. Now, guys, girls, sorry. Now, girls, you can't forget that he gives himself huge bonus points for everything he does. So how can a woman earn huge bonus points with a man? So sex is a great way to earn great bonus points with a man. But there's another way, and that is when you believe in him. Every man wants his wife to believe in him. Now that sounds like a simple thing to do, especially to you young girls who haven't been married very long. But that's because you haven't heard the incredible, stupid ideas he's going to come up with yet. And a lot of women, they feel it's their God-given responsibility to try and keep their husbands humble or something, you know, because he'll come up with this idea and they respond, that's stupid. Oh, that'll never work. You could never do that. And they don't realize when you talk to a man like that, you are doing incredible damage to him and to your relationship with him. Men, if you have not figured this out yet, men have very, very fragile egos. We just do. We might look like tough guys on the outside, but we're girly men on the inside because we can't handle that kind of, rejection and all that kind of stuff and criticism. Most men don't handle it very well. And when women treat their husbands that way, when he tries to share his dreams with you and you dismiss them as stupid and ignorant and he can't do that, that's very, very, very damaging. Now, that's not to say you can't challenge his ideas. Keep him from destroying himself and the family. That's okay. But you need to be his number one fan. Because I'll tell you what happens. When you do that, you know what he learns? I cannot share my dreams with this woman. And men will stop telling their wives their dreams. If your husband never tells you his dreams, you guys might need to have a serious talk. And the reason he's not telling you is probably because you have given that kind of reactions to him. And it's very damaging to a man. And now you got yourself in a really bad place because almost miraculously at work there's some bimbo there who just accidentally hears one of his ideas and goes, oh, that would be a great idea. Oh, really? Oh, yeah, you'd be great at that. Oh, well, thank you very much. And now you're in serious trouble. You need to understand something, girls. Most affairs do not begin for sexual reasons. They begin for emotional ones. And you need to let that boy know that you are his number one fan. And it's hard for a lot of women. I'll tell you who really struggles with this. Women of professional men. Doctors, lawyers, preachers' wives. A lot of them really struggle in this. Why? Because they get so tired of hearing everybody praise their husband. Oh, you're so great. He's so great. He must be wonderful. He must be wonderful. I've heard with my own ears a woman, as soon as they came into the door, she says, everybody thinks you're so smart. I know what an idiot you are. Think, what is she thinking? She's doing God's work somehow? Everybody thinks you're so great. I know how stupid you really are. Huge damage to the relationships. You need to let that boy know you are his number one fan. And as much as I love it when people come up to me after these seminars and say, oh, you were great, I loved you, and I do love that because I have an ego the size of Texas, And the one that means the most to me is when that cute redhead comes up to me and says, you did a great job today. And I know the only reason she says that is because I just said this now. And I don't care. All right, so be careful with the scores. Now, what do you do? What do you do if the scores get so unbalanced and everything gets so out of whack? Well, then you got to do number 2. You need to learn how to keep the reset button handy. Now, when my son Philip was a little boy, I used to be a video game addict. And I loved to play video games. And I would play for hours. Just and I had the latest, greatest, whatever, boxes and stuff like that. And he would come up to me and say, Dad, can I play with you? Can I play too? And I'd say, sure. So I'd give him a controller. And I took the cord and I ran it back, but I wouldn't plug it in. He was a little boy. He didn't know.
Oh, that's terrible. What would he think about that? It is going to be
He's just a little boy. He was thrilled. He got to have a controller in his hand. And we would play for hours just laughing and giggling and having a great time. But it did dawn on his brain at some point that something was amiss. And he said to me one day, he says, Dad. I said, yeah. He goes, I think my controller is busted. I said, what makes you say that? He goes, it's not responding. Responding? Oh. He's pretty impressed. He obviously had been listening to us talk, and I followed I said, oh, it's not plugged in. How did that happen? So we plugged it in, and all of a sudden it comes to life. He goes, yeah, that's it. And sure enough, the little rat could play. And he's playing, and I'd let him get way in front, and then I'd catch up, and I'd let him get way in front, and I'd catch up, and we'd just do this for hours, having a great time. The problem with this plan was, though, is he eventually got really good. When I was better than him, I would let him get way ahead, but when he got better than me, he felt no such compassion for the old man. And he would kill me. Just kill me. I mean, just massacre me. Just, 180,000 to 12, And I'd reach over and hit the reset button. Bleep! And he'd say, Dad! I'd say, shut up, keep playing. We're trying to get it. And he'd get way ahead, and I'd do it again. Bleep! Dad, cut it out! My hand slipped. And I loved the reset button. Do you know why I love the reset button? Because whenever you would push the reset button, everything would go back to the way it was. Wouldn't it be great if relationships had a reset button? That when things got so crazy and the scores got so unbalanced and things were so out of whack, that all you had to do was push a button and everything would go back to the way it was. Wouldn't that be great? Do you know God has given us just such a button? Some years ago, I was in Phoenix, Arizona. And this is, the early 70s when the dinosaurs still roamed the earth. And the very young man, I was part of a revival meeting. You ever been in a revival meeting? They'd have meetings every night, and you never had an ending time. You just would keep going and going and going and going until people quit coming. And our meetings would go sometimes for months on end. As long as people kept coming and asking Christ into their lives. It was very, very cool. We had a lot of fun. During the day, we would go out, we'd hand out flyers inviting people, and at night we'd have these meetings. Well, my favorite place to go in downtown Phoenix was in front of the downtown porno shop, because it was hilarious to hand somebody a flyer about Jesus on his way into a porno shop, because it would just freak him out. He'd go, oh, thanks. And he'd go, all of a sudden he'd go, oh, wait a minute, this isn't J.C. Penney's? What am I doing here? It was hilarious. I'd keep myself entertained for hours doing that, We weren't protesting or just handing, how you doing? Yeah, hi. And it was just great entertainment. Well, the guy who owned the porno shop, though, wasn't having nearly as much fun. And he was losing tens of thousands of dollars, and he thought we were never going to leave because there was no ending on our flyers, and we just kept going and going and going. And he became very desperate, and desperate people do desperate things. And this man hired a professional killer to come to the meeting to shoot the evangelist to get rid of us, so that after he would kill the evangelist, we would all freak out and leave town. Well, the perfect scenario would have been for, the evangelist always came out in the beginning and welcomed everybody, and as things were kind of settling down, he could have just boom, and in the confusion taken off. But this particular night, I'll never forget it, the evangelist calls us over and says, hey, you guys. He says, I don't feel so good. He says, something's wrong. He says, can you start without me? And we said, well, yeah, sure. So we start without him. Which is really kind of a drag if you're a killer. Because, revival meetings don't exactly go with your mojo. You're trying to get the nerve up to shoot somebody, now you're stuck in a revival meeting. Well, now he's got to play along, right? He's got to fake it. So he's singing along, la 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 blah, 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 blah. And we start singing the song. Give me that old time religion, give me that old time religion, give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. And we're swinging it. All of a sudden we stop and say, now, hold on a minute. We're going to sing this next verse. And this verse goes, makes me love everybody. And when we sing makes me love everybody, I want everybody over here to come over here and hug everybody over here. And everybody over here to stand up and go hug everybody. I just want you to hug as many people as you can. So we start singing. Now this professional killer is being accosted by all kinds of people. They're all hugging on him. Hey, man, good to see you. God bless you. Hey, praise the Lord. Man, everyone's hugging on him. He's getting more hugs than he's been hugged since he was a baby, I'm sure. His mama probably never hugged him, And he's like, he's got to fake it, right? He's got to hug everybody. And then we all sat down, and then people got up and started sharing testimonies. You remember testimony services? People get up and talk about how God had changed their lives. And we had some pretty dramatic stories of people who were drug addicts or, whatever their deal was, and how when they asked Christ into their lives, how God totally changed their lives around. And they got tears running down their cheeks while smiling at the same time. Kind of like the weather in Phoenix. And sunny yet raining. I don't understand. But it was so powerful, and he's just listening to all these people. Then finally, the evangelist comes out. And by this time, the guy is frozen. He cannot act. He's in a state of shock. And this evangelist starts preaching what all evangelists preach. You know, the fact that God loves us. He loved us so much, he sent Jesus to take our punishment. Jesus took what he did not deserve so we could get what we do not deserve, which is forgiveness. And when he got to the end, he did one of these Billy Graham things where he said, if you want to ask Christ into your life, I want you to walk down to the aisle and we're going to pray for you. About 100, 150 people stood up and came down to the front. And in the midst of this group of people came this professional killer. And when he got up there, he fell on his knees. And he started crying. He says, I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't do it. And the counselor next to him said, sure you can. You can do it. I want you to know, God wants you to do it. And he's going, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. And he pulls out the loaded weapon and hands it to him. And that's how we found out the story of how this guy came to kill somebody, but instead had his life dramatically impacted by the love of God. Now, you may not hire a professional killer, at least I hope you don't. But the truth is, when somebody hurts us, we want them to pay. So our version of making them pay is we get bitter and unforgiving. I'm not going to forgive you. The problem is the only one it hurts is the person who doesn't want to forgive. Unforgiveness is like taking poison, hoping the other guy will die. And to be truthful with you, I've never understood how so many people have a problem in this area, particularly Christians. You know, if you're not much of a churchgoer, take a nap for a minute. But you Christians, this is Christianity 101. This is as foundational as it gets. Jesus taught us basically this: if you don't forgive people, God won't forgive you. It's that simple. So I don't believe that. No, you'll get an exception because you're so cute. You're kidding yourself. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Forgive us as we forgive. God will not forgive you if you don't forgive people. This is non-negotiable. You need to hear it. But a lot of people, they struggle with it. They go, I don't, it's so hard. Because you don't understand what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is an act. It is not an emotion. Has nothing to do with your emotions. You might feel the pain of what that person did to you till the day you die. Has nothing to do with forgiveness. It's not an erasure of your memory. You might remember what that person did to you till the day that you die. And let me ask you a question. Do you think God has Alzheimer's? Do you think he can't remember what you did? Do you think he looks at you and goes, something about you really ticks me off. Like, can't remember what it was. He throws in what he calls the sea of his forgetfulness. He doesn't have Alzheimer's. He just will never bring it up again. He'll never mention it again. That's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is this. It's when you say, I forgive you. I will never use it against you in the future. I will never speak of it again to you or to anyone else. Forgiveness has more to do with your tongue than your head or your heart. If you're still talking it through, you haven't forgiven. You need to hush. You need to let it go. That's forgiveness. All right, what'd you decide? Which lady? God steps in and says, forget about it. I made my decision. Oh, yeah, really, which one? He says, number 5. Whoa, wait a minute. God. Do you know who this is? This is Bathsheba. The only reason this woman is there is because of lust, lying, adultery, and murder. There's nothing holy about it. There's nothing righteous about it. It was never in God's plan. God never intended it. But Bathsheba becomes the mother of Solomon and the great-great-great-great-grandmother of the Lord Jesus Christ himself. You could make the argument, had it not been for lust, lying, adultery, and murder, Solomon would have never been born. You could make the argument, had it not been for lust, lying, adultery, and murder, the Lord Jesus would have never been born. Oh, well, praise the Lord that happened then. See, you're not making any sense. I know this was hard even for the writers of the Bible. If you read Matthew, the first chapter, where it says so-and-so was the father of so-and-so was the father of so-and-so, that whole list, he mentions 3 women by name, but when he comes to her, he doesn't even mention her name. If you read it, it'll say the wife of Uriah. Uriah was the man David killed to get her. Wouldn't even mention her name. Why? Because it makes no sense. It makes no sense. How can this possibly be? How could the Son of God's lineage depend on a woman who was only there because of lust, lying, adultery, and murder? I'll tell you how. Because God's love is so powerful, he can take your biggest mistake and turn it into something so beautiful, it won't make sense to anybody. That is the power of the reset button. I want all the couples to stand together. If you're not here with your husband or wife, or if you're not married, you can stay seated. But if you're here with your husband or wife, I want you to stand up. And I want you to turn to each other. Thought you said we weren't going to do anything emotional. It'll be all right. I'll even tell you what to say. All right, all the guys looking at the girls, I want you to repeat this. Well, I don't need to repeat it. But then just say it for the rest of us poor slobs who do. Looking at your wife, guys, I want you to say this. Honey, I'm sorry for not always being the kind of husband I should be to you. For not giving you the attention you deserve. For being too caught up in my own world instead of our world. For demanding too much and not giving enough. For not loving you like I should. Please forgive me. With your love, your support, your patience, and your prayers, I will strive to be the kind of husband God wants me to be. Now, girls, your turn. Looking at him, I want you to say this. Say, honey, I'm sorry for not always being the kind of wife I should be to you. For not always appreciating all that you do. For not always being the lover I know you need. For not always believing in your hopes and dreams. For not loving you like I should. Please forgive me. With your love, your support, your patience, and your prayers, I will strive to be the kind of wife God wants me to be. Now I want you to press the reset button. The way this works is you reach over and you plant one right on her. Give her a kiss. All right, hug the girl. Hug the girl. Hug the girl. Hug the girl. Doesn't that feel good? I don't understand. He made us laugh. and then he made us cry. And I'm so confused. You can be seated. I want to thank you guys for being here with us this weekend and sharing this moment with us. And we believe that millions of people's lives are going to be impacted by the information that we share this weekend as this thing is broadcast on television around the world and on DVDs and stuff like that. There's some powerful information that we've shared this weekend that a whole lot of people need to hear. Just basic, simple stuff that can transform lives. You have been wonderful. You have tolerated our making you move here, there, and the other, and through all the sessions and stuff. You have been wonderful. I so appreciate you. God bless all of you. Thank you so much. Bye. Amen. God bless you guys. It is our differences that attract us to each other. And then they drive us crazy. And a lot of the struggle that happens in relationships is fundamentally trying to get you to be like me. Why can't you be like me? Why can't you be more like me? Why can't you think and act and respond like me? Because he ain't you, that's why. All right? And we start really fighting fundamentally who they are. It is the craziest thing. There's something wrong with all of us. I don't know what it is. But we feel that difference and we go, oh, there's something really special about that person. Yeah, you know what it is? They're the exact opposite of you. You finally found someone who's just the flip side of the coin and go, oh, yes, yes, yes. And there's that sense of completeness, because, together you guys make a good person. All right? But because we're all a little unbalanced. We need that person to balance us out. But then we get married and, oh, man, it just starts driving us crazy. Now, what I've discovered is most couples don't understand what those differences are. They know there's something there, but they don't really get it. And we start fighting against fundamentally what the other person loves the most about life. Because what they love the most about life is usually not what we love the most about life. And couples have a real hard time expressing these feelings and these emotions and finding a way of clarifying just exactly who they are on the inside. And we've developed a program that helps couples to do this. It's called The Flag Page, and it was written by a good friend of mine, Larry Bellata, a brilliant man who discovered the key to helping people succeed is showing them what's right about them, not what's wrong with them. So much of our efforts to help people starts with the premise, well, let's find out what's wrong with you. A lot of couples counseling is, let's focus on what's wrong with you. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of this, and if you're a counselor or something here, and you have a different result, don't get mad at me or throw anything. But the truth of the matter is, most people are not aware of it, but most counseling fails miserably. By and large, they have an 80% plus failure rate. Can you imagine going to a doctor where 80% of the people came out dead? That's contemporary marriage counseling, marriage therapy. And I'll tell you what, churches, pastoral counseling, marriage counseling, isn't much better. Some of them, it's equally as bad. That's why a lot of pastors hate doing it. As soon as the church gets big enough, they hire somebody else to do it. Because it sucks the life out of them, and it's frustrating, and they're not succeeding, and they want to give up on the deal. One of the reasons why they struggle and fail so much is because the premise is wrong. They start focusing on what's wrong with you. They bring in a couple and say, okay, well, what's wrong? Well, why is that wrong? Don't you think it's wrong to do what's wrong? It's like trying to lose weight by thinking about food all day long. They're focused. We have discovered if you get people to discover what's right about them, they come alive. It changes the dynamic. And while so many people have an 80% failure rate, using this approach, we have discovered an 88% success rate with couples. No one was more shocked than I, because I was like a lot of other ministers. Ministers, we do marriage counseling by default. They come to their minister, they want help, and okay, we get like one class on it kind of thing, and we typically just beat you over the head with the Bible, and hope you change. But I failed just like everybody else. And when we started using this approach, the turnaround in couples' lives, and I just went, wow, this is absolutely amazing. And we continue to fine-tune and develop this program, and we use it with couples all across America, all over the world actually, to help them discover what's right about them. We call the program The Flag Page. And this program is a very unique program. It's I don't know how many of you have ever taken a personality test or anything like that. They ask 250 questions and stuff, and I hate those things as much as you do. That's not what this is. This is not a personality test. We don't care about your personality. Twisted as though it may be, okay? This program focuses on one thing, and that is, what do you love about life? What is important to you? That's it. We try to measure passion. All right. Now, It's a test that you do online. You go on the computer, you go online, you enter a code. You have to purchase this little code, and you enter the code, and then you can go in and do the program. The program consists very simply of 3 steps. It's so simple. When I first took it, I thought, this is stupid. It can't possibly be accurate. And I was blown away by the results. But the 3 steps are very simply. Number 1, it gives you a list of words. And then you simply click all the words you believe describe you. Now, this is not what you wish you were. All right? Because a lot of you girls, you go, oh, I wish I was that. I wish I was that. I wish I was... you'll just look like somebody else is all it is, okay? You'll look like what you wish. We don't care about that. Don't think in those terms. This isn't what you wish you were. This isn't what your mama told you had to be, okay? This is, yes, that describes me, yes or no. Boom. You pick the ones, you click a button, you go to step 2. You rate on a scale of 1 to 10 how specific words make you feel. 10 makes me feel great, 1 not so good, 5 in the middle, whatever. Then you get step 3, where you prioritize those, the ones that are the most important to you. You push the button, and then in seconds, you get this printout. We call it the flag page. On this program, it'll show you why you act the way you act, why you react the way you react, where you're most likely to succeed in life, and most importantly, the 5 things that you love the most about life. Now, let me explain very briefly just the top portion of it. That's the most powerful part of it. And we're going to start with this area in the corner here that shows these pictures. What we do, the first thing this thing does is breaks you into 4 temperament categories. Control, fun, perfect, peace. We call them countries. Fun country, control country, perfect country, peace country. Why? Because it's like coming from different countries. Different countries have different traditions. Different countries have different ways of looking at things. I used to use the analogy of like someone from China trying to relate to someone from Yugoslavia or something. But we discovered a really better example is like someone from the United States trying to relate to someone from England or from Australia or from South Africa. Why? Because we all speak English. We assume, there's a general assumption, we understand each other. But if you've ever been in these countries, you can find out in a hurry, different words mean different things. And you can insult people very, very quickly. We were in England some years ago, and I met this young couple, and they had this little boy about 2 years old, little toddler running around. I love kids, and I'm goofing around with this little kid. And at some point, I said, come here, you little bugger, and I'm reaching to grab him. All of a sudden, the parents grab his hand and just storm out of the room. I was stunned. I looked at the guy next to me, I said, so what happened? He said, well, over here, a bugger is a homosexual. Well, that's not what I meant, okay? And when I told the couple, I apologized. I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. That's not what it means where I come from in Wisconsin, all right? But you know what? They didn't care. They didn't care. They stayed offended. They stayed upset because you don't do that in our country. I don't know how many of you follow little political things, but when the first President Bush went over to Australia, he was in a motorcade, and he was waving at the crowd, and he was using some hand gesture, I don't remember what it was, but over there, it's the equivalent of flipping everybody off. It's like going down the crowd, hey, how you doing? Good to see you, and all the people got upset and offended, and of course he had to apologize later because over there, that's what that means, but not where we come from. And it's like that from these emotional countries. We have our way of viewing things. We have words that mean certain things, and we're motivated by different things than people from other countries. And inevitably, people seem to marry people from completely opposite countries. Not always, but a lot of the times. It's very, very funny to watch. Now, let me give you a quick breakdown on these 4 countries. First of all, we have the square, black and white country of control. These are the people who just want to get her done. Need to get her done. Just get her done. All right, their favorite vehicle is the bulldozer. They just hop on that bulldozer and plow everybody over to get something accomplished. And they just, rah, they're focused on what they're doing, not who they're killing while they're doing it. Because their greatest desire in life is they want appreciation for what they do. They want appreciation for it. I want you to appreciate me. I told you last night how men like to be appreciated. Men like this really want to be appreciated. But there's women like this too. They want appreciation for what they do. Now, these people generally, depending on how passionate they are about it, they're so strong about it that the last thing in the world you want to do is appreciate them. Right? In fact, we'll say things like, dear God, don't appreciate him. Right? So we all, the rest of us from other countries, feel it's our God-given responsibility to deny them what they want the most. And then we wonder why people get upset. We wonder why they feel depressed. We wonder why people struggle in life. Why? Because what they desire the most is being forbidden to them by everybody closest to them in their lives. You're not helping your spouse by denying what they want. It'll seem odd to you because you don't want it. I mean, to all of us, that's weird. And in every country, they each have something that to the rest of us seems weird. But to them, it's breath and life to them. These people want to be appreciated. They like words like grasp, control, get her done, appreciate, accomplish, achieve. That's the world that they come from. All right? Then the next one is we have the star-shaped country of fun. Guess where I come from? All right? Now, these are the people, they just want to have fun. We love it. And our favorite vehicle is the jet plane. High speed, no limits. Of course, we're famous for smashing into walls and not seeing where we're going. And of course, we think it's hilarious. Then we just get up and take off again. And it's not so funny to your spouse, who's tired of seeing you smash into walls all the time, right? But we don't care. Our greatest desire is, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. We love to be noticed. Fun people love to be noticed. Their favorite environment is being noticed in a crowd of people. Just, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. That's fun people. That's why they'll share horribly embarrassing situations that you would never share. It's true. Why can they do that? Because we just look at me. We don't care. Look at me, look at me. Look at me, look at me. I was in Ohio, and I got on one of these shuttle buses, from the airport to the rental car thing, and this lady hops on the bus, and she's just loud. Fun people are loud, 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 loud. Why? Look at me, look at me, look at me. And she's just talking. The lady's hilarious. She's got us all laughing on the bus. I knew right away what country she came from, She was she'd just come back from Rhode Island, which is about the size of a postage stamp, and describing how it took her 9 hours to get from the airport to her hotel. Now, it only takes 20 seconds to drive across Rhode Island, but it took them 9 hours. And she's describing how they kept going in circles and stuff like that, and she thought it was hilarious. It's an embarrassing thing. And then she says, and then we finally got to the hotel, and it was this hotel, and it was so neat because when we looked outside, it had the biggest, fullest moon we ever saw. It was so beautiful. And she's describing it in detail, and she's kind of pulling us all in. And she says, the most amazing thing about it is it never moved all night. It stayed in that same spot. And I'm thinking, really? And she says, the next morning we got it, we saw it was a big lamp right outside our window. Oh my God. Oh, I felt so stupid. It was... Now you realize she's sharing this with complete strangers. She doesn't care, all right? She just loves to have fun and loves to be noticed. We're not real big on details. We're a little scattered brain. We're the kind of people who'll go to a shopping mall and we'll come out and we have no idea where the car is. And we think it's hilarious. I couldn't find a car for an hour. And of course, your spouse is not nearly as entertained by this. Highly irritated, okay? And what do? These people, they want to be noticed. All you fun people, what have you heard all your life from people? Oh, God, don't notice them. Don't encourage them. Don't encourage them. So everybody closest to you works the hardest to deny you what you want the most. And if they succeed, you will be depressed. you will be frustrated. You will not be happy if they win. There's this constant war between the countries here. Now look at the words they like to use. Really, happy, good time, funny, great, ha ha ha. Now, we get a lot of people from Fun Country coming to my event because it's called Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage. And just the title alone, they're in. Ah, okay, let's go. I love it. I love it. And what are they doing? They're trying to sell everybody by using their words. So if they're married to a control person, they're coming up saying, oh, come on, you need to come. It'll be really fun. It'll be really great. Oh, we'll have such a blast. But you're speaking Swahili to this guy. See? Because there's not one word you said that appeals to him at all. No, come on, it'll be really fun, it'll be really fun, it'll be really fun. We all like using our own language. And we can't even begin to comprehend why the phrase really fun doesn't motivate you to come. All right? If you really wanted to succeed with Mr. Control or Mrs. Control, you would use their language. You would say, honey, we ought to go to this thing because we'll be able to achieve more in our marriage, we'll be able to accomplish more, we'll be able to get more done, and we'll succeed more in our relationship. Now you're talking his language. Do you see the difference? But we don't want to do that. We don't even care what the other language is. We just want to use our language. And it gets us in trouble. So this is important to try and understand. Then we have the people from the diamond-shaped, hard, perfect world of perfect. And these are the people, they just want to get it right. It's just details, details, details. They view the world under a magnifying glass, And they're always looking for flaws. And their way of saying I love you is let me tell you what's wrong with you. You know what I'm talking? Some of you got that. You always telling your spouse, you need to quit doing that. You need to do this better. Why do this is their version of love. If they didn't care, they'd let you just burst into flames. They wouldn't care. You're about to drive over a cliff. They don't know you. They don't care. Just see you. But they love you. They're always pointing out what's wrong and how you can be better. These people, they're perfect. Their ideal vehicle is the train. That's because unless this rail is it has to be exactly from the same distance from this rail, or the train's not going to move. These people are often accused of being control freaks, and they're not, and they get mad. If you have a spouse that you say, you're just a control freak, and they get mad at you, I promise you they're not a control freak. They're probably a perfect person. Control people, when you accuse a control person of being a control person, you know what they do? They go, that's right. They love it. Rawr, rawr. That's right, I'm a control. Get out of my way, But perfect people are often accused of being controlled, but the reason that it feels like they're controlled because they're always stopping the train. They're train stoppers. They're not controllers. They're not trying to control the environment. As control people like to control the environment. They like to do this, do that, put this here, do that. They light up with that. But perfect people, they just want to get it right. That's their desire. Get it right. Let's get it right. Let's get it right. Now, it doesn't mean it is right. It's just right to them. These are the people that if they were on the Titanic, the only thing they would be concerned about is that the furniture stay arranged on deck. The rest of us would be on, we're dying, it's gonna sink, who cares? I'm sorry, it's policy. We gotta keep these chairs over here because that's what it says in the manual, You ever run into somebody like that? That it seems like for the lack of every bit of common sense in the world, they cannot see it because it's in the manual. That's the way. These are perfect people. They make some of the greatest workers in the world because they'll follow the manual to death. Now, these are by nature the most creative people in the world. Your best architects, your best artists, your best designers, your best musicians. Janet comes from the world of perfect. It's her highest score. They take details and they make them come alive. They are creative geniuses, all right? But they are by nature the world's most sensitive people. And what they desire more than anything is really not perfection. They just want you to be sensitive to their feelings, which is something you'd never even connect that. You think, well, they want perfection, they want to view stuff, they want everything. No. Their greatest desire, sensitivity to their feelings. It really throws everybody because no one picks that up because they're always throwing darts at everybody. That's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Okay? And then we try and throw the darts back at them. Okay, but they don't handle it very well. They don't like it. They get their feelings hurt all the time. Perfect people always walk around. They're always hurting all the time. People are always offending them, and they feel things very, very deeply. And a lot of them carry a lot of hurt and pains from even years ago. It's a real struggle for them. Again, they're creative, brilliant geniuses. God loves them, and God made you the way you are. But they have a real hard time letting go of stuff. See, control people, if you offend a controlled child, he'll push past it. You offend a fun child, he'll laugh it off. You offend a peace child, he'll make peace with it. You offend a perfect child, and they can carry the pain of that well into adulthood, some of them for the rest of their lives. If you have perfect children, you need to be very careful with them. They're very, very sensitive people. Again, they're brilliant, they're wonderful people, the most misunderstood people. When I'm flying home at 35,000 feet, I'm really hoping the guy who designed that came from perfect country. And not from fun country, you know. Bad. Because all we care about is that it looked cool. And if it blows up, we go, oh man, did you see that? Oh, let's make another one, you know. So we just... They like words like ideal, right, details, feel, that sort of thing. All right? Then we have the final country, the country of peace. These are the people who just want to get along with everybody. Can't we all just get along? I call it the Rodney King motivation. Can't we all just get along? You know, their favorite vehicle is the gondola on calm waters. They hate emotional waves. They just hate it. Inevitably, these people marry people who do belly flops in the pool. Stop it! You know, they just hate it. It drives them crazy. This picture of a person in a hammock while mowing the lawn, that's not laziness to these people. That's efficiency. Stay calm. Just stay calm. They like words like no hassle, the easy way, relax, low maintenance, smart. You know, they just like doing things, you know, with as little discomfort as possible. Now, these people's greatest desire, the control and fun are the easiest to recognize what their desire is. Perfect and peace is harder. Perfect, I explained to you, but peace people, what their greatest desire is for you to respect who they are. That's what they really want. The problem is, these are the easiest people in the world to disrespect. It is because they're so nice. And they're so placid and so bendable. They're just... And when anybody from the other countries run into a peace person, we immediately think, here's a chance for a convert. That's what we do. We can get him to the dark side. Follow the dark side. Because we think, because they're so nice, they really need what we have. And we can bring them to our side. So control people, you know, they'll come to a peace person and say, you need to get more done in your life. And a peace person will go, okay. And a fun person will say, you need to be more excited about life. And they'll go, okay. And a perfect person says, you need to get it right. And they'll go, yes, you're right. And you can push them along just so far. These people will all of a sudden shut down on you in a heartbeat. And the reason, and it'll shock you to say, what happened? It's because at some point you start disrespecting them and you start insulting them. They'll put up with a lot because they're peace people. By nature, they'll suffer the slings and arrows of many outrageous fortunes, okay? But you start insulting who they are, they'll shut down on you, they'll go cold, they'll get really upset. A control person pushes too hard, it makes a peace person feel stupid. You make a peace person starting to feel stupid, they'll really get upset with you. A fun person can make them feel like a dud. You make them feel like a dud, they'll shut down. You know, a perfect person making them like a failure. You start making them feel that way, you're insulting them, they will shut down on you. If war breaks out between the other 3 countries, these people all hide. And they come out and join whoever won at the end. You know, that's... which makes the other 2 want to kill him, okay? So that's the temperament thing. This is just the beginning. This is why you act the way that you act, the way that you approach life. Then what this program does is it measures what we call your hard motivations versus your soft motivations. Now, soft means calm, patient, peaceful, low-key, easygoing. Hard sounds bad, but it's not bad. It's great. It's wonderful. Strong-willed, bold, born leader, organized, self-sufficient people. These are wonderful, wonderful people. And sadly, in the world that I come from, in churches, we tend to really favor soft people, you know, and we kind of dislike hard people. But it's very, very unfair because they're both wonderful. You know, God has both in him. Thou shalt not is pretty hard, right? When Jesus was whipping people and throwing them out of church, that's a little on the hard side. All right, but then he also was compassionate and forgave people even their most outrageous offenses, and that was his soft side. So, you know, while God is perfect, you know, we have varying degrees of all this, and this program actually measures this in you, and it's very, very interesting. And then we'll stop with this part of it, but this is what we call the flag, hence the name Flag Page. And this shows you your top 5 motivations, the 5 things you love the most about life, and we do them in order of importance to you. And this is really significant because oftentimes couples not only fail to appreciate what the other person loves, but they criticize it in them. And when you start criticizing what the other person loves the most about life, it really causes a great deal of pain. And you start tearing at their heart. We have a phrase that says, don't step on my flag, you know. And the problem is, we all appreciate the things that we love the most. When we see your spouse's flag, you don't get nearly as excited about it. You get thrilled by your own, but you look at theirs and go, oh, that's too bad. Now, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to show you, I've got a couple of couples, guinea pigs, that have already taken this program, and I'm going to bring them up on the stage, and I'm going to go through just a part of their flag with them so you can kind of get a sense of how this program works and how couples can try and learn so much about each other and learn how to succeed with each other. So we'll do that when we come right back, all right? Okay, we have with us now Keith and Dana Stasser, is that? Stacer, okay. And we're going to look at the Stacers. They're my next guinea pigs here. Okay, so we look at Keith. His is a fun guy. He likes being up here. Look at me, okay? Look at this, 188. This boy's on drugs, man. I'm telling you. Just loves fun. Just great sense of humor. Life of the party. Never a dull moment. Can you tell? 188. Okay. 78, perfect. Fun, perfect people. We call these people the world's greatest entertainers or the most creative people. You know, they have fun, but they get it right. And they get it right and they have fun. Then he has a P score of only 63, a control score of only 27. He barely has a pulse. Who just happens to be married to the charts. You know how rare that is to see someone with 200? 200, get her done. This girl's So, Mr. 23 Control is married to Mrs. 203 Control. What a shock! I can't believe it, you know.
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
Now, her next highest one is peace. So she's what we call a control peace woman, peace control woman. We call these people the world's greatest managers. Why? They get stuff done, but they get along with people. They get along with people, but they get stuff done. And that's her world. That's the world that she moves in. Okay? Now, whoops, wrong button. Keith, we measure here his hard and soft. Look at the difference here. 89. He's very high on the soft side, very low on the hard side. Here's a guy who's very much a soft-hearted guy. Desires to be very relational. That's a huge jump, 89. Usually, and I don't know Keith, but usually guys like this, if you force them to go into the hard side, you don't like the result. These are the guys, they get upset, they go psycho on you.
That's hilarious.
They'll use a bomb to kill a fly. They will nuke the joint. I mean, they will go off on you. And the good news is you don't see it very often, but when you see it, it just freaks you out. And everybody says, why are you so upset? You don't have to get so upset, which only makes them more upset. The reason they get so upset and the reason they so overreact usually in tough situations is they don't like being there. What they're trying to do is kick back to the soft side. They don't like being there. I think of the Incredible Hulk. Don't make me angry. You won't like me when I'm angry, okay? Now, Dana is a balancing woman. She can be comfortable doing black and white as well as being very relational. It's harder for him to be confrontational and direct with people, but not for you, okay?
No,
Which
no problem.
not a problem. It's a lovely thing. Now, the reason that can mess with you, and I don't know you guys, but a lot of couples, they can feel bad about that because our culture approves of hard men, like the first guy that was here, and soft women. We don't particularly care for tough women and soft men. And a lot of times, they can feel like there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong with you. This is exactly who God made you to be, and it's fine. You might find yourself in a situation where you'll be saying to him, why can't you tell the kids no? Why can't you call that guy and say that? Why can't you be a man? Or whatever words you want to use. The thing is, it's because he doesn't like that. If it's confrontational, if it's hard, he will let you take over really quickly. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with this. In fact, a woman who's a big control, tons of confidence, quick to action, she just, there's nothing wrong with that. It's great. And a lot of times in churches, we criticize strong women, particularly women who by nature are quick to make decisions, quick, and to lead, and especially in tough situations. And we think, you're usurping authority. Baloney. They're not usurping authority. See, we misunderstand that in this nation, in this Western culture, because we think authority is tied to what you do. Whoever does the most has the authority. Wrong. In Eastern culture, they understand authority is not based on what you do, it's based on who you are. See, they have kings and that sort of thing. We fought wars to get rid of kings, but they have kings and stuff. And whether a king is a great king or a bum is irrelevant. He's still the king. They understand that. It's based on who you are, not what you do. And we have a hard time with that. Even in Eastern religious culture, a lot of their worship songs celebrate the Christ and the inherent Godhead that was in Jesus, and they celebrate Christ for who he is. In Western culture, our songs are all about, let's celebrate Jesus for what he's done. See, everything's about doing here. And we misunderstand. We think because a woman's doing a lot, she's taking, no, that has nothing to do with authority. Best example of that in the Old Testament is when you read the story about Joseph in Egypt. The Pharaoh put him in charge of everything. Joseph made every decision about everything. He called all the shots in Egypt. The Bible says there was not one thing that Joseph was not in charge for and responsible for. If you came into Egypt, you'd have swore Joseph was the Pharaoh. But was Joseph the Pharaoh? Never. Never. Never at one time did the people even think he was the Pharaoh. Why? Because they got it. I don't know what the Pharaoh did. Sit around eating bonbons all day long. I have no idea. But it was irrelevant. What you do does not make you the king. It's who you are. Okay? I don't know if that helps at all a lot, but it's good for you to be who you are. This is the way God wired you, Miss 203, control. And tons of confidence. I can do anything. And don't get in my way. Okay? And she loves that. Now, Miss, tough girl is married to Mr. Sincere at heart. He's a warm, fuzzy guy. Again, thoughtful, genuine, compassionate, likes to have fun, never a dull moment, faithful, and she's this quick to action, confident, optimistic. I can do anything. Anything's possible. Come on, follow me. Da, 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 da. She loves it. Also, Sincere Heart also has the great sense of humor. Bottom line, if she gets this fulfilled in her life, you just looking at these words makes you feel good, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, you have to do it to see it. I look at other people's, I think that's nice, but when I see mine, I always go, I love it. That's how powerful this stuff is. And the same for Keith. When he sees that, he just goes, yes, that's me. This is wonderful. This is great. The problem is now, if you want to have a bad marriage, you just start criticizing him for these things. Always goofing around, everything, you got to be real about everything. You never ever goofing off, you're not going to quit goofing off. You need to be more serious about life. What's the matter with you? Okay? You criticize her for always trying to be in charge. What's the matter with you? You always think everything's going to be great. Sometimes things are lousy. You need to be more real. What's the matter with you? And when you do that now, see, you could say that to me, it wouldn't hurt me because I don't have any of this. I just go, all right, I can work on that. You do that to her, now you're tearing at her heart. You're tearing at who she is. A lot of times what you criticize most in your spouse is what they happen to love the most in life. You don't even know it. They've never told you. And then you wonder why you're struggling and why you're hurting each other so much. This program will help you discover it. Let's take a look at Dana and Keith's rules for feeling loved. Dana's rule for feeling loved, tons of confidence. Encourage and release me to go to the next level. She wants you to approve of her being this big control, get her done chick. Yeah. That's her number one rule for feeling loved.
That's right.
You know that number, and she's got number 2, 3, 4, and 5, by the way. She hasn't done all this yet, okay?
That's right.
But you work this through, and you come up with her 5 rules for feeling loved. Tell you, it's impossible for her not to feel happy if you respect those in her life. And for Keith, sincere at heart, his number one rule is I need you to sincerely appreciate me. And when he says sincere, it means to be real. You got to be very, very real with him. Again, these guys who have sincere, they can smell phony a mile away. Mm-hmm. They can tell when you're being, just blowing smoke at them. The more real you are with him and you appreciate him, the more he'll come to life. And again, he also has 2, 3, 4, and 5. And again, you get these 5 rules in their lives, and these people will come to life, and they will succeed at a level. And check it out, neither one of them has to change. And they can be completely happy. I believe you could stick virtually any 2 people in the world together. This is not eharmony.com, okay? We do not care about that. This isn't trying to find, why are we the most alike? It doesn't matter if you have exactly the same stuff or you're totally different. Bottom line is if you will respect, honor, and encourage each other, just these 5 things. Stop and think about that. You do this program, I can show you 5 things. If you will do those 5 things, you will have a happy wife. Take it to the bank. Amen. You do these 5 things, I can show you how you can have an absolutely thrilled and encouraged, happy man in your life. But a lot of us don't even know what they are. We never talk about it. That's the power of this program. All you have to do is when you do the program, again, you just have to go online and enter the code. Now, when you buy my book, where's a copy of the book? There's a copy of the book over here. Very professional on the floor here. Okay, here we go. Here's a copy of my book. Very professional, yes. Anyway, It's blue, see? And it's called Discovering Your Heart with the Flag Page. And when you get the book, it comes with a code in the back. And you take the code and you go online and you enter this in. Now, you need one code for each person. So if you want to get the book and you want one for your spouse, you'll have to buy the code. The codes are only $10. They're very affordable. And it's certain for $10, man, to find out what you can find in this thing is absolutely life-changing. And I'll tell you who this is really great for. Teenagers.
Yeah.
Nobody's more confused about who they are in life than a teenager. And unlike an adult who wants you to understand them, teenagers don't want you to understand them. It's true. They're blowing smoke all the time trying to confuse you. You get this program and you'll find out. And this can be life-changing. I had a man who came up to me about a year and a half ago, and he looked at me and says, I want you to know something. You saved our family. Wow. I said, what do you mean? He said, we had a daughter who was so different from us. We never understood her. And we were always at war with her. And she was always in trouble. And she was always depressed. And she tried to commit suicide. Raised in the church all her life. Tried to take her life. We were so heartbroken. He said, we heard about this program and your book. And he says, we did this with her. And we came up with her 5 rules to feel loved. And when I saw her 5 rules to feel loved, he says, I wept. Because I realized I had been breaking all 5 of those all the time. And he says, and sincerely, Pastor, he says, I never knew it. I never knew. But when I saw that, I determined I'm going to start respecting what this young girl needs. He said the change in her was dramatic. And it is. When you start giving people what they truly need in life, the change is powerful and dramatic. He says the turnaround in her attitude changed. She was up and positive. She's in school today. She's even thinking about going into the ministry. That was the power of understanding her heart and recognizing who she is. There's lots of reasons why we struggle with this today. Lots of psychological and sociological reasons that I talk a little bit about in the book, but it doesn't matter. Who cares why we're where we're at? You and I don't have the power to change our culture. Just so that you know, our culture, the way it is today, has given people, we've given birth to entire generations now who are completely clueless about who they are. It wasn't like that for a very, very long time throughout history, but it is that way now. This program will help you to center on the inside, understand who you are, who God made you to be. And I'll tell you who really was impacted by this program and fell in love with it big time was me. Because all my life I had been criticized for doing and being who I was. Are you kidding? A pastor? You know what's on my A box? Good on stage. Fun. Loves people. Inspiration. You know, I love to make people laugh. And the static I got all my life, you can't do that. You can't get up in the pulpit and start goofing around like that. What's the matter with you? You don't always got to be in front of people. You need to be more humble. All from men who did not have any of those things in their hearts. Amen. They didn't have it. I had it. Something's wrong with me. All my adult life. I spent the majority of my time, I'm a musician. I'm very good at what I do. I was also a video producer. And churches loved hiring me because I was in charge of their music programs and helped do their multimedias and stuff. And I spent, here's a guy who loved to be in front of people, inspire people. I spent the majority of my day in a dark room with a computer or a keyboard. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. And the thing is, I'm very good at it. And I was told all my life, all that matters is you're good at what you do. Wrong. It's important that you love what you do. And when I saw that printout, I was heartbroken. And I said, oh, yeah, that's me. It's too bad. Seriously, I thought that was what was wrong with me. And Larry, the guy who developed this program, was showing this to me. He says, no. This is what's right about you. I said, no, it's what everybody hates about me. He said, well, I don't know what they hate about you, but this is who you are. And you need to be this. And I remember taking it to the senior pastor where I worked. And he says, is this really how you feel? He says, yeah. I said, man, you need to change your life. And he helped me launch into what I'm doing today. And now I'm touching millions of people's lives, doing all the stuff everybody told me I couldn't do. So to all those people who said I couldn't do it. All right, that's what I got to say. All right, thanks, you guys. God bless you. When we come back, we're going to do the Yo Mama session, the #1 key to incredible sex. See you in a few minutes, all right? Do I really have to talk to my spouse about things that do not interest me? Yes, of course you do. That's just common courtesy. If someone starts talking to you in any discussion anywhere, you don't suddenly just go, not interested, and walk away. That would be rude. That would be insulting. I mean, why couples do that to each other is horrifying. I mean, just show common courtesy. If your spouse is talking to you about something you don't really care about, at a minimum, just be polite and respond. And, you know, now if at some point it becomes so horrifying, then I suppose you can say something. I'll do that to my wife. I mean, she frequently will discuss things with me that I could not possibly care less about. You know, something she saw at the store or this or that. Who cares? But saying, gee, who cares, is a formula for disaster. I try and be nice, and I try and be polite. And if it's something that continues on and on and on, I'll at some point just say, you know, please, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm not interested in what you're talking about. And then she'll slug me or something. And then we can still laugh about it and move on. But yeah, just show common courtesy. Men who respond to their wives in rude ways and say, I'm not interested in that, you know, and be insulting. And then these are the same men who complain, I wonder how come I'm not getting any sex? Well, because you're a nitwit, that's why. Be nice, be polite. Yes, you can and should discuss issues that are not of interest to you at all. Why is communicating so hard now that we're married when before we got married there were no communication problems? Well, because when you were dating, that wasn't real life. I mean, dating is the biggest bogus part of life. I mean, everybody's telling everybody what they want to hear, and everybody's living in this false drug-induced state of romance. It's not real life. You don't really discover life until you put on the ring and you really commit to each other and you start living life together. That's when the real challenges come in. And everybody has these challenges. And because you're so close to each other, it can get difficult at times. But, you know, there's nothing wrong. A lot of relationships are like that, even with your children. I mean, there's people who have children who are just very problematic, very, you know, troublesome and don't want to behave, but then take those same kids and put them with someone else, send them over to the neighbors or to an uncle or something, and suddenly they're the most well-behaved kids in the world, and you think, what's the deal? How come you don't behave that way with me? Well, because they're not with them all the time. When you're with somebody all the time, it just gets harder. There's, you know, everything's so connected to everything, and at some point, it gets to be a struggle. But that's normal.